Hey guys, Mike here. So, well, what a nice green day today. Finally, it seems like it's been a while that we actually held the gains. It was super volatile. Obviously, we sold off again this morning. Well, it was going to be a bad one, but of course, you can always wait on the tweet, baby. Something to do with tariffs. And of course, they delayed the auto part of the tariffs for a month. And so that triggered, everybody to go into the call options, which I'll show you the exact moment that happened. And we'll start looking at like what you need to be looking out for from here forward over the next few days going into the weekend. I'll have the important data we got this morning at the very end for those who like to see it. I think it's extremely important. That way you're not surprised when it comes out, and especially the job data, because whoo boy, can't wait to see the next jobs data, which is coming out here soon, that actually does include government jobs. That's going to be very interesting. But one thing to note, you'll see this going around, and tomorrow I'll show you something, because again, you know me on this channel, I like to give you the truth, I like to dig behind what a chart says, because there's this thing going around. But when the stock market's up 25%, here's what seasonality actually does in April, right? Because I showed you the seasonality, what normally is really good. But of course, as usual, people don't dig behind the chart to see what's going on. So I will give you the information in less than 60 seconds tomorrow and let you see for yourself why that chart is mostly BS. But, we'll get into it tomorrow. I always like to do that. Now, yesterday we did have the third largest put volume take place in quite a while, as you can see. The last two times, they try to say at bottom the last two times. It's actually not true. If you look over here at the left, that's not a bottom, that's a pop and then a drop back down and then it bottom, okay? The second one you can see was a bottom, and so we'll see. That's what just normally signifies that. So we'll see if that's the case, if it's going to be a temporary bounce, if it's going to go ahead and move back up. We'll have to see. And I'll talk to you about why I don't know if Trump's going to actually let that happen or not, and we'll talk about in this video. Because when you look, obviously, that's where we started. Boom, went red. Then all of a sudden we get a tweet out about, oh, auto tariffs are delayed. Look at the calls start to just roll in. Then you see the calls cross the puts, and then zero DTEs just take off, like 7 million plus, and it gained traction even more than that throughout the day, of course. But going back to the chart, what you want to see, and I told you yesterday, that 4-hour fair value gap, like that is going to be the draw. So that was the draw today, trying to come up, couldn't quite get there. What actually did it hit today? It hit the 5-day moving average, right? So we got rejected there, and this is what you want to watch out for. Okay, you want to see this to curl up. All right, you already seen it on the lower time frames, curl up. But on the daily, we're not above it. When you get above it, all of a sudden that means momentum change when it starts to curl up. And here we go. Okay, so that's the big thing you want to watch out for. And of course, what are we looking for? Market structure. There's a low, there's a higher low on your lower time frames here. Okay, we need to get above and get this 4-hour fair value gap mitigated and set that right there, because then that will give us a higher high on the lower time frame. And then if we turn back over, set another higher low, and then eventually break this trend line up here, as you can see it. That's what we need to be looking for. And eventually what you'll end up getting, or what you're looking to get, is this right here, like a upward channel. It's going to be an ugly one, but again, that's what you'll start to see. That's what normally you see when this stuff starts to happen. So that is what we're looking for. It's actually easier to see on the Qs, because the Qs to me are going to outperform the SPY most likely if the Mag 7 start to rally, because they've been beat down the most, and usually beat down stuff actually gets more love if this is a bounce. As you can see, that trend line is already starting to be broke, but you can clearly see what's happening there as I drew this in a couple hours ago. And so there you go. Higher lows, did not set a higher high. And so we got to get above that right there. And usually it's about, I think it's like 505, I believe, is really where you don't want to close below. You want to get above that, and especially turn that into support. That would be significant. And really it's like 505.75, I believe, is really what you're looking for. Try to move up to 513 if that is what's going to happen. Again, I'll talk to you about why. We'll see if President Trump and the administration is going to allow that to happen. I think it's a very important reason. But when we look closer here, you can see the Qs did close below the 5-day moving average. And what you're looking at is something like this. That 5-day moving average curls up, it gets above it, and it usually just rides like a surfboard up. You can see it multiple times here. That's what you're looking for, okay? If that's what's going to happen, that's what we're actually eyeballing here. So watch that. Watch the VIX, the crater. That's also what you're looking for. It's pretty high right now, starting to come down. But like I told you guys, will they allow it? Because the number one thing, and I said this, I said TLT is going to come down and the 10-year is most likely going to pop. And all that had to do with was charts, okay? And what has the administration been very clear about? Getting the 10-year down. They've been driving it down. But I said, here we are, coming into this area, hard to break. And what's TLT coming into? It was coming into its 200-day moving average. Wow, look at that right there. and it came down. And by the way, watch that gap right there to fill. That will be a nice bounce area, as you can see right there as a side note on TLT. And so if we can close that gap and get down there to close around 90.08, whatever that is, and get the pop, watch the 10-year start to roll back off. But I'm willing to bet the administration does something to try to push that 10-year down at that time, because they do not want that 10-year popping back up. They've worked hard to get it down. That's why they're just firing everybody. They're cutting, no matter what it is, they're cutting everything they can, doing all kinds of stuff to push the 10-year down. That's why you're seeing home builders go green, which we'll look at and stuff, and things like that. That's what's happening right now. And so I knew that was going to happen. Hope it gets down to that gap. And so we'll see, again, that's what I'm saying. If the 10-year starts to come back up, will Trump and them come out and do something to try to push it back down, and at the same time push the market back down? That's what we're trying to figure out. When you look over here, the other thing to watch for is what? Your big boys, right? Which one of these is starting to curl up on the 5-day? Which one's getting above it? Which one's breaking trend lines? Well, Microsoft's come up this trend line where it's been rejected a couple times, but it's above the 5-day. Okay, it's been beaten down like it stole something. So again, heavily weighted stock. Let's see if that goes up. Apple below the 5-day. It's a decline of 5-day moving average. This one was actually down, I think, like 2.5% at one point in time. Google, again, and all these are in discounts, by the way. Above its 5-day moving average, like it's trying to curl, but remember, right there, that 175.82 area, 178, somewhere in there, that's going to be a beast to get through. Okay, that's going to be the big thing. You get through that, and then we're moving. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Again, it's early. All right, that's what we got to build day after day, level by level. So that's the big thing to watch on Google. Okay, and I'm just looking at the heavy hitters because that's what's going to matter. We'll look at some smaller ones in just a minute. But again, Meta, a decline of 5-day moving average is right at it right now. You look over here at Amazon, again, below the 5-day moving average, close right at it. So a lot of these are closing right at the 5-day moving average, but it bounced off the 200, right? Tesla, below the 200, definitely below its 5-day moving average, you can see. NVIDIA, definitely below the 5-day moving average, below the 200, below the 50-week. And so this one's a big discount as well, but you can see it's above that 5-day moving average and rides it up like a surfboard. Like, that's what you want to see, okay, when we're looking at this. Look over here at IGV. This is the software. Crowd got killed last night, down like 8% on the day. I don't know what it ended, but this is another one. Got to get the 5-day curling up, start to move up, because it's in an area where it needs to bounce, right? It bounced off its 200. Does not even fall. None of these need to fall below the 200, okay? Watch for rejections when they're coming back up to the 200. HIMS, another high flyer, again, gets above the 5-day and just flew, right? It's below its 5-day now. It keeps opening like 8% down, recovering throughout the day in the last few days. Very interesting there. So this is getting day trading like crazy, it seems like. Palantir, obviously another popcorn here. This is above the 5-day moving average. It held that area we had talked about a couple weeks ago where it was resistance. Now trying to turn that into support, filled that earnings gap right there. So we'll see if this one's going to start to continue to move back up. And again, if these stocks start to move back up, does that let you know, like, wow, that's kind of risk on stocks right there? Like, really? And you might see that. I mean, honestly, and you'll see some of the different areas they're buying today, and you're like, wow, recession. Okay, sounds good to me. But anyway, I mean, you look at this. This is what you're looking at. And it also bounced off the 50, by the way. So it is above the 50. Okay, as crazy as that valuation is, it's moving up there. Look at Chinese stocks just going to the moon right now. I just did a member video on that and how they can track this stuff. So it ain't just China. Look over at Europe, folks. Look at those stocks. Look at those ETFs going crazy, outperforming the SPY, right? You just kind of scroll through these. So money's still flowing over there. Got the pullback. Now they're popping back into that. All right, because why? Those areas were just beat down. Europe, left for dead, China, all that stuff. And now it's like, oh, let's just go ahead and put money in there. And you look at these different areas. I mean, what led the that way? Airlines. Really? Like down 4, look down at cruise down there. This is hotels, cruise line stocks, right? Going big today. Home builders, okay? That ain't usually what you're going to see, heavy money flowing into if there's this big scare or whatever. So, again, you have the big move up. You got to get the Mag 7, 8 going. Okay, that's for sure. But just look at where money keeps going every day and see if you see a trend. All right. Now, looking over here at earnings, you can see J.com, Cracker Barrel, Kroger, and BJ's tomorrow. Again, Macy's another one. Then you got Broadcom. Hopefully it does better than Marvel and some of these other ones. And then you got Costco and Gap, which are 2 big ones. And then not too much data, but you do have unemployment claims coming out at 8:30. Revised non-farm productivity, revised unit labor costs, all that fun stuff, natural gas, but nothing big. Friday is going to be the big day, okay? Now, you talk about this data. The ADP payroll, 77K, okay, versus 140K. This is not counting government hirings. Remember, the government is the largest employer out there, and as far as I know, they're not hiring. So we'll see if all those job cuts come into play or not. But again, let's get 1 or 2 reports out. We've seen these crazy reports come out, and then the next report comes out, and it's like super high, right? Remember, like, what was it, in July time frame? They're like, oh, we're going into recession last July or something, because look at all these numbers, the Fed's got a cut and everything, and all of a sudden, payrolls turned around. So let's see what we get on 2 reports in a row. That's not a good report. Not a good report at all. Manufacturing, still sitting here, going into contraction, then non-contraction. What's funny, though, pop quiz, and if you don't know the answer to this, just hit me up in the comments and I'll answer it for you. What was going on right here? Big decline, going to contraction from 2018 through 2019 before we ever hit the 2020 crash. So it's going on for a year and a half before we ever hit the pandemic. Okay, so what was happening right there? I'm curious to see if you actually know the answer to that, because we're above where we used to be, right? And this is factory orders, month over month. Now, looking at this right here, this is the big one, ISM services, PMI. You look at this, it's not contraction. Remember, if this goes in contraction, that's when we're really in trouble. That's just the way it is, because 70% of our economy is services. Okay, manufacturing has been in like the contraction for like 2 years. Okay, but you look at new orders, still up, not contraction. Prices paid continue to go up on like every single report. Not good for inflation numbers, that's for sure. Employment's up. Okay, so again, we'll keep tracking this data. I like to look at it all the time, so I'm not surprised when stuff comes out and everything. So anyway, hope you got some out of it. Please hit that like, subscribe button on your way out, and think about signing up for the membership, less than McDonald's combo. And I will end up seeing you guys tomorrow for another fun one to wrap it up. Please put your questions at the bottom for Saturday's video if you have any.